It's a tit for tat.
54%.
34%.
104%.
84%.
125%.
That's the latest after Trump upped tariffs on China and China retaliated. But with all this back and forth, China thinks it could come out on top. China does see a lot of opportunity in this. I mean, basically, Beijing is watching the US dismantle the international system that it had a pivotal role in creating. And Chinese leader Xi Jinping has his own vision for the world, but it's difficult to put that into place with the US as a major leading superpower with so much international engagement. So certainly if we step back and look at this from a broader perspective, there's a lot that Beijing can gain. It's obviously concerned about the economic impact. I mean, China's economy has just only now started to see some glimmers of recovery from a very difficult time. The property sector crisis, the recovery from the COVID pandemic, the restrictions that China put in place on its own people at that time. But what we're really seeing is that they are projecting confidence. They're saying, we have technological advancements regardless of what kind of constraints you're putting on us. They're also saying our economy is going to be able to weather this. This isn't going to destroy us. And we have policy that we can put in place to help bolster that if we start to really feel that pain. We're also seeing outreach to other countries. And I think when we talk about opportunity, that's a huge part of that. China in recent weeks has met with counterparts in Japan and South Korea. They've had outreach to the European Union. And the message there is we need to work together against what Beijing calls this unilateral bullying from the United States. And so as we're looking ahead for as this trade war escalates or doesn't, I think that's certainly something that we're going to be watching more of.
Erupt in the Taiwan Strait. China launches one of its largest military drills in years, including long-range, live-fire exercises near the East China Sea. Dozens of warplanes, Navy and Coast Guard vessels, even Beijing's newest aircraft carrier, the Shandong. A simulated siege encircling Taiwan by air and sea, taking Taiwan, the U.S., and its allies by surprise.
是对台独分裂势力的严重警告。
Taiwan is scrambling fighter jets, activating missile systems, accusing Beijing of corruption and internal chaos.
I think they should properly resolve these internal problems instead of destroying peace and stability in the region.
China's military is dealing with a wave of purges, top generals disappearing amid corruption probes and secrecy. The drills include assault simulations, rehearsals for a full blockade of Taiwan's sea lanes, a likely first move if China ever tries to seize the island by force, a stark new warning to Taiwan's leaders, and some say the Trump administration.
The president is emphasizing the importance of maintaining peace in the Taiwan Strait.
An internal Taiwanese government memo obtained by CNN confirms China timed the drills just after U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth left Asia. Just days earlier, a leaked Pentagon memo, first reported by the Washington Post, calling China the department's sole pacing threat, warning U.S. forces to prepare for a possible Chinese seizure of Taiwan. The New York Times reports Elon Musk was scheduled to be briefed at the Pentagon on U.S. war plans for a possible conflict with China. That meeting never happened, reportedly called off after the paper began asking questions. Both Musk and Trump deny the story, calling it propaganda. Online, China's state-run media is cheering the drills. One Weibo hashtag racked up more than 300 million views. The concern here in Taiwan, one wrong move could trigger a conflict with global consequences.
We hope governments on both sides will exercise restraint instead of acting unilaterally and causing conflict or even war.
In one propaganda video, China's military mocks Taiwan's President Lai Ching-te, calling him a parasite. Beijing's ridicule may be a response to stepped-up espionage crackdowns. Taiwan sentencing 4 soldiers, including presidential guards, for spying for China. Taiwan also deporting several pro-China social media influencers, accusing them of calling for an armed takeover of the island. Making these massive military drills even more ominous.
Tragedy in the Hudson River.
I just saw the plane started falling apart in midair, and then the tail came off.
A helicopter plummets from the sky.
I heard a big boom,
thinking that it was like construction next door.
A mother, father, their 3 children, and the pilot all killed. Shoes, passports, and pieces of the chopper left floating in the water.
There was a family on there. My heart goes out to them.
Tonight, as the wreckage is slowly removed, questions remain about what went wrong. And good evening to you. I'm Christine Johnson. People from around the world travel to see the skyline of New York City in person. And that is exactly what one family from Spain was doing today. Sadly, this memorable trip turned tragic. The helicopter they were riding in crashed, killing everyone on board. Here is a live look now at the Hudson River from Jersey City. Nearly 8 hours after this tragedy, most of the wreckage has been lifted from the water. And here is what we have confirmed. On board were the pilot and a family of 5, a mother, father, and their 3 young children. Pieces of the helicopter seen breaking apart by witnesses before it landed in the chilly water this afternoon. We have team coverage for you tonight. Tim McNicholas has more on the chopper's operator and history. Dick Brennan is talking to aviation experts. And Alicia Reed heard from witnesses on the ground. We begin our coverage here, though, at 11 with Allie Bauman. She is live at the scene from Manhattan's West Side. Allie.
Christine, we've just learned the father who died in that crash was Siemens executive Agustin Escobar, along with his wife and their 3 children, 11, 5, and 4 years old. They were on a sightseeing flight that tourists take over the city almost every day. Tonight, authorities say the main body of the aircraft has been recovered, but dive operations will resume tomorrow for its other major parts. Its metal mangled. The Bell 206 helicopter is raised from the Hudson River Thursday night, hours after it plunged into the water, killing all 6 people on board.
We saw the tail end of the helicopter pop off and the main rotor go flying off.
Cell phone video shows its terrifying drop.
It just flipped over in midair and started falling into the ground. Propellers still propelling without the plane helicopter as it was falling.
Authorities believe the sightseeing tour took off from the downtown Skyport in Manhattan at 2:59 p.m. and flew along the Hudson toward the George Washington Bridge.
Shortly thereafter, the aircraft lost control and hit the water.
The first 911 call came in 18 minutes after takeoff.
Yeah, I've located the chopper. It's north of the vents right here, right where I'm sitting. It's upside down in the water here.
NYPD and FDNY divers quickly went into the water, but no one on board survived. The pilot and passengers, a family from Spain, including 3 children, killed.
We're praying for the families and our gratitude to the rescuers and the courage that was displayed and their dedication.
As the inverted helicopter bobbed in the water, the family's belongings drifting along bitter waves, crestfallen divers returned to land, their eyes saying all that they could not.
And they told us they did everything they can to try to save these victims, and you could see the trauma in their face. They did everything they can, and they wanted me to make sure that I made that public. They really tried their hardest.
And the National Transportation Safety Board says its GO team is expected to arrive here tonight to begin its investigation. The burning question that remains here tonight, why did this happen? We're live on Manhattan's West Side. Allie Bauman, CBS News, New York.
Tonight in Santo Domingo, the death toll soared to at least 221 killed. The number missing unknown. And officials in charge of the recovery operation in
all Dominican people crying, believe me. I cry all day.
Cristobal Moya is one of 189 rescued, now recovering in the hospital. Shows us this video, shot, he says, by the people who saved him, shortly after the Jet Set nightclub's roof collapsed. You see him lying face down, covered in debris, surrounded by bodies and blood. He tells us he foresaw what looked like dust falling from the ceiling. Seconds later, the entire club completely collapsed.
How did you survive?
When I was hit on the head, I fell forward, he says, and that saved me. Meanwhile, today, across Santo Domingo, an icon was put to rest. Famed merengue singer Ruby Perez was performing at the time of the tragedy. His daughter Zulinka was with him on stage in front of a packed audience. Her dad was singing with his when a beam collapsed, crushing him. an image she'll never forget. Authorities here say they don't know why it happened, declining questions about the investigation, while the owner of the jet set says he's being transparent. Tonight, authorities say they finished searching the rubble, a grim reality for many, still some relief. Late yesterday, this family discovered their loved one, once missing, was found in the hospital alive. Meanwhile, Moya shows us his injuries. God gave me a new opportunity at life, he says. His survival, bittersweet. He says 3 of his friends are still missing. Tonight, officials say of the 221 bodies pulled from the rubble, they've yet to identify 75, leaving an agonizing wait for the remaining families. Tom.
Reading out of the book of Jeremiah 16:14-15, and it reads, Therefore, behold, the days come, said the Most High, that it shall no more be said that the Most High liveth, that brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. Verse 15, But the Most High liveth, that brought up the children of Israel from the land of the north, and from all the lands whither he had driven them. And I will bring them again into their land that I gave unto their fathers. Giving all praise, honor, and glory to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Yahweh, Ba'ashem HaMashiach, Yahweh Shai, Rahar, Rakar, Kadosh. Double honors to the mighty men, the elders, and the apostles in the community, waking up the lost sheep, the house of Israel in these last days. Peace and blessings to everyone teaching this truth, and doing this truth, and humbleness and in sincerity. Again, I'm going to say shalom. It's your brother Yawasab coming at you with another video. And, you know, you look at the news posts, it's only getting worse for Babylon the Great, okay? These plagues are sent, they're not slack. Okay, in the Hudson River, most recently, you had a it was a helicopter accident with a family from Spain. They were tragically taken down. And you look at that video, the people said they heard a big boom, so it's under investigation. But I find that, you know, it's a little head scratching. I've been working in New York City over 20 years, and it's common for those helicopters to always fly to Hudson. When you look at the breaking news post, everyone said they heard a loud boom, and you see the news show the helicopter falling upside down with the propellers. Okay, still, one eyewitness said the propellers was still spinning as it was going down upside down, and everyone died. Right? There's the continued trade war, and I found some data, as y'all seen in the post. You notice while this trade war is increasing, this is what the United States did most recently. They went easy on the other countries, but they added more tariffs on China.
We'll find a bottom. It will be soon. And from there, we're going to have a bullish boom.
There doesn't have to be a recession. Who knows how the market is going to react in a day, in a week.
You need to reset the power of the United States of America and reset it against all our allies and our enemies alike.
It's a strategy to create a golden age in America for the American worker. That's his strategy.
A strategy with no details. All these advisors seem to be talking past each other.
Look at his face.
Richard
his head buried in his hands, literally.
And it's only Monday.
There doesn't have to be a recession, says the U.S. Treasury Secretary. He's right. There doesn't have to be a recession. The only problem is economic circumstances have now been put in place that most Wall Street economists of senior note say are likely to cause a recession. Goldman and others now say it's up to 60%. You want a trade war? This is what it looks like. And you remember Scott Bessent's words, there doesn't have to be a recession. By the way, all the rest, Howard Lutnick's comments, the economic advisor's comments, Navarro's comments, that's all just hyperbole. That's all just basically, it's going to be great, it's going to be marvelous, it's going to be fantastic, it's going to be wonderful, it's going to boom, but this is the reality. And at some point, ladies and gentlemen, at some point, there is so much disruption that the market simply can't take it, and jobs go.
I'm not the only guy that said this. I'm certain a lot of YouTubers, a lot of people in the geopolitical world, quietly saying this is all the ammunition China needs to overthrow Taiwan. And I'm telling y'all, don't sleep on it, right? So it's so much calamities happening on this planet Earth today, and we have to consider the times that we're living, right? One moment. So you have the trade wars, right? You have the trade wars going on. You have China threatening to overthrow Taiwan in the heat of these, this back and forth tariff between the United States, this Trump administration basically poking China into an all-out war, because that's what's going to happen ultimately. Then you had this tragedy. You had a monstrous tragedy in Dominican Republic. You already had the drama with the Persian lady being missing with Esau. Then you had this tragedy where a famous Dominican artist was performing in this auditorium, and the entire auditorium collapsed on the artist and hundreds of people that was in there. And it's pretty sad to see that. But you look at these judgments, this passing on a cup. It's going to the other nations, but Israel is not exempt. You look at that footage in DR that's posted, of course, that's judgment. We're going to get some scriptures, and I'm going to end this exhortation. Since we're coming into Passover, I guess I'll do a quick run of the Passover. And most high willing, the true Passover when the Lord deliver us out of Babylon the Great. Right? So let's get Jeremiah 23 verses 7 and 8, right? And it reads, "Therefore, behold, the days come, said the Lord, that they shall no more say, the Lord liveth, which brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. But the Lord liveth, which brought up and which led the seed of the house of Israel out of the north country, and from all countries whither I had driven them, and they shall dwell in their own land. Okay, and this is going into the final exodus into the wilderness, and for the elect to Zion. That's the coming exodus that's setting up. Because the tariff war, it's not only breaking and collapsing the United States of America, it's going to usher in World War III. It's going to bring turbulence to this earth. Okay, as I said in my last video, America is finished. Okay, ain't no Caesar, okay, coming to save anybody. America is on its way out. And yes, this is going to escalate World War III, which is somewhat proxy what was left of Ukraine via Russia. But you have the issue with the Israelis still fighting the Palestinians and whatnot, okay? You have that drama still going on. And, of course, the tariff war and now these military drills right off the Taiwan border, as you've seen in the post. All this is going to usher in our exodus out of here, right? We have to look forward to our deliverance out of spiritual Egypt, which is the United States of America. Let's get that to 2nd Ezra 15:10 and verse 12. Okay. Behold, my people was led as a flock to the slaughter. I will not suffer them now to dwell in the land of Egypt, but I will bring them with a mighty hand and stretched out arm and smite Egypt with plagues as before, and will destroy all the land thereof. Verse 12, Egypt shall mourn, the foundation of it shall be smitten with the plague and the punishment that the Most High shall bring upon it. And we're seeing it. Slakia. We're seeing that. Right? Now let's check out what the Most High did to the ancient Egyptians. We're going to read out of 2nd Ezra. Okay. We're going to read Slakia. Exodus. I'm going to get Exodus 12 and verse 24 real quick. It says, and ye shall observe this thing for an ordinance to thee and to thy sons forever. Okay, this is really going into the Passover. I'm going to start at verse 23. Exodus 12 and verse 23. For the Most High will pass through to smite the Egyptians and when he seeth the blood upon the lintel and on the two side posts, the Most High will pass over the door and will not suffer the destroyer to come into your house to smite you. Verse 24 again. And you shall observe this thing for an ordinance to thee and thy sons forever. So we're to keep the Passover. Unless some bonehead Babylonian Caesar worship will tell you, oh, that's done away with. Okay. We're going to even observe this in immortality. It's still going to be honored in Zion. And that's what we're rehearsing for. Okay. The children of Israel was given the law, statutes, and commandments. And even in the kingdom, we're going to keep these laws. Reading on. I'm going to jump to verse... Just want to get to the judgments. We're going to go back. I'm going to go to Exodus 12. Slakia. Let's read Exodus 12, 29. I want to read verses 29 and 30. Exodus 12 and 29. It reads, And it came to pass at midnight that the Most High smote all the firstborn in the land of Egypt. This is dealing with ancient Egypt, okay? From the firstborn of Pharaoh that sat on his throne, unto the firstborn of the captive that was in the dungeon, and all the firstborn of cattle. So the Most High basically bodied the firstborn of every living thing, including Pharaoh's son. That's why it just baffles me that a damn apologetic could tell you that God changed it. We seen what he's doing to America now. Family, the Most High of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob is destroying America. He is breaking this place apart right before our very eyes. So don't believe in some Caesar, okay? The beast image in the back there. That's a fable. And the Lord not dealing with racism, white supremacy, and their Christianity dogma. He's not dealing with that. They're on their way out. And when this war pop off, watch what he do to America. Okay? It's going to destroy America in fire. Reading on. Exodus 12 and verse 30. And Pharaoh rose up in the night. He said, all his servants and all the Egyptians, and there was a great cry in Egypt, for there was not a house where there was not one dead. So the Most High brought a serious judgment to the Egyptians. And what is he doing to America? It's not long ago you had a helicopter crash into a damn jet in the DC harbor. Okay. Now the media, I'm going to say this and we're going to move on. The media dropped that story. They recovered the black box from the helicopter and the jet. Why they dropped that story, that's an unknown. I'll give you my take. And I showed y'all in the video I posted not long ago.
Black Hawk helicopter. In the first video, the Black Hawk can be seen flying at speed over the Potomac from the left side of the screen. The American Airlines plane can be seen flying towards the airport before the two collide, causing a mid-air explosion and fall into the river. In the second video, you can see the Army helicopter and American Airlines plane travel toward each other. After the collision and subsequent explosion, the airliner can be seen spinning into the water, and the Black Hawk is also seen falling.
Video evidence show the helicopter pilot literally flying in the direction of that jet. That was plain. And now that story is completely silent. I'm going to carry on with the lesson. Right? Now you had the helicopter crash into the Hudson. And, the Lord's just, the Lord is visiting this earth. You can read that in Isaiah, the 34th chapter. The Lord is visiting this earth, and he's not playing with this place. Okay. We're going to read, regarding this war. Let's get the classic. In Exodus 15 and 3. You already know where I'm going with that. We're going to read Exodus chapter 15 and 3. It reads, the Lord is a man of war. The Lord is his name, okay? And that's who's behind the war and calamities on this earth, okay? And he's setting the stage for the exodus of the Hebrew Israelites, chiefly out of America and the four winds of the earth where we were made to be captives, right? That's why all this stuff is happening on this planet Earth, especially the crashing of this government. Now you got certain brothers saying it's going to crash completely. And don't give in to the whole recession, depression nonsense. Hadn't they been singing that song since 2008? Don't give in to the BS. The Lord's going to have this thing run, okay, to a certain degree. Like the elders taught, okay, there's got to be a sense of norm so that 2 Peter 3:10 could be made manifest. Okay. America is in its last days. 12 tribes of Israel. America is literally in its last days. So you don't want to get too caught up in this place, okay? You do have to endure, okay? If you got wife, family, children, you do got to sustain for your family, but don't put your trust into, the government, right? The courts, all that stuff. It's about to go down in fire, man. It's going to burn away. We have to prepare our hearts, minds, and soul for this exodus. And, we all catching hard times. And yes, Jacob's trouble is going to also escalate. Brother was bringing that out. Job loss. What the hell are you going to do to cover your family? The Lord will make a way, man. But that time is only growing close, right? So we just have to endure and never give up in these last days, right? Let's read that again. Let's get Exodus 15:3. The Lord is a man of war. The Lord is his name. Pharaoh's chariots and his hosts had he cast into the sea. His chosen captains also are drowned in the Red Sea. Okay. Verse 5, the depths have covered them. They sank into the bottom as a stone. And okay, Slakia, that was the end of the ancient Egyptian leaders and his men. They drowned in that Red Sea. A different type of floods coming this time around. It's going to be thermonuclear destruction. And in this nuclear destruction, as them bombs are going off, hitting every major city across the United States, okay, the chariots of the Lord, they're going to rescue the chosen. It's an account, Isaiah 43:1-2. There's Zechariah 13:8-9. Okay, the chosen's going to be delivered out of here. And for all you silly Israelite groups teaching the UN's going to give us a plane to go back to Mother Africa, it's not going to happen. The heathens will never make peace with us, especially your so-called Dukes of Edom. And all these groups out here teaching, even Brother Phil, man, with the African diaspora, talking about, oh, they're going to do it because of their conscience. They ain't giving us a damn thing. I'm telling y'all that right now. Our true redemption, okay, our reparations is immortality and rulership forever and ever. And that's going to be given to us by Yahweh, by Shema Mashiach Yahushai, not the government. It's coming apart. Look at the news. Look at what's posted. The God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob is taking this place down. So stop living in that fantasy world where the so-called powers that be going to have a change your heart and pay you to work for them harder, or give you extra money so they could take it back. Right? The God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob is coming to judge this place. Bottom line. Let's read. I want to go to Ezekiel. I want to get the book of Ezekiel real quick. Let's get Ezekiel 20. I love this book right here. One moment. Ezekiel 20, and I want start at verse 33. This is also going into this future Exodus. And it reads, "As I live, said the Lord God, surely with a mighty hand and with a stretched out arm, and with fury poured out, will I rule over you. And I will bring you out from the people, and will gather you out of the countries where you are scattered, with a mighty hand and with a stretched out arm, and with fury poured out. And I will bring you into the wilderness of the people, and there will I plead with you face to face." That's dealing with the judgment day for those that make it into the wilderness. Okay, I say judgment day in the sense, who the world called Jesus, he's going to be in that wilderness judging the Hebrew Israelites, not the Ku Klux Klan. He's going to be judging the 12 tribes of the children of Israel. Okay, let's read on. Verse 36, "Like as I pleaded with your fathers in the wilderness, in the land of Egypt, Slakia, of the land of Egypt, so will I plead with you, said the Lord God. And I will cause you to pass under the rod, and I will bring you into the bond of the covenant." Okay? And that covenant's not dealing with the covenant that they broke. Okay? Of course, Israel, they rebelled, and the Most High had to punish us as a nation. People, slavery, chattel slavery, okay? Modern day slavery here in America, the prison industrial complex, okay? We had to serve a very harsh punishment, and we're at the end of it. Obviously, with the war getting worse, the tariff wars, okay? Ultimately, World War III going to escalate, and that's going to usher in what? The nuclear missiles and the exodus out of this place. Okay. I'm going to read verse 37 again. "And I will cause you to pass under the rod, and I will bring you into the bond of the new covenant." Okay. That's Hebrews 8 and 8 through 11. Verse 38. "And I will purge out from among you the rebels and them that transgress against me. I will bring them forth out of the country wherein they sojourn, and they shall not enter into the land of Israel, and you shall know that I am the Lord." So that's really dealing with Israelites that knew they were Israel. One of the calamities that plagues the Hebrew Israelite community is that hatred against other Israelites. Okay, even brothers teaching them with the spirit of Rakah. There's an account where the Most High warned us not to be in that spirit, and we see that heavy in Israel, from camp bangers to certain congregations. It's going to be a tragedy in that one-on-one, okay, in the wilderness, because Christ's going to have to make example of Israelites that hated their brother. Okay, and it's a warning from Yahweh Israel. If you have hatred towards another brother, and it's general. If you have hatred towards another brother, okay, brothers doing annual attacks on this group and that group, okay, that's not subject to congregations. That's really subject to them keyboard prophets. They ain't never been on the street corner. They do that more than anybody. But in the end, you're going to get judged. And if you miss this kingdom, that's it. Let's get Zechariah 13 and 8. Why not? Because this is also dealing with this final exodus to come. Zechariah chapter 13. I'm going to start at verse 7. It reads, "Awake, O sword, against my shepherd, and against the man that is my fellow, said the Lord." Slakia. Read that again. Zechariah 13 and 7. "Awake, O sword, against my shepherd, and against the man that is my fellow, said the Lord of hosts. Smite the shepherd, and the sheep shall be scattered, and I will turn my hand upon the little ones." Okay, that's reflecting Deuteronomy 28 and 16, I believe. Because what did the Israelites do when they were given the laws? They chose death instead. and we were scattered. Let's read on. We were scattered and we were punished, and we still dealing with this punishment today. Zechariah 13 and verse 8. And it shall come to pass that in all the land, saith the Lord, 2 parts thereof shall be cut off and die, but the third shall be left therein. Okay, still with the chosen. And I will bring the third part through the fire, and will refine them as silver is refined, and will try them as gold is tried. They shall call on my name, and I will hear them. I will say, it is my people, and they shall say, the Lord is my God. All praises. Okay, because the chosen is going to get delivered. Okay, when you read the Revelation 7 account, okay, the elect's coming out of all 12 tribes of the children of Israel. Okay, it's 12 from each tribe. You have the government, body, elect, and then you have the remnant, which I just read. Okay, the Israelites are going to be delivered. And okay, when you read, what's that, Jeremiah, when you go into Jacob's trouble, when you read Jeremiah 37 on down, they tell you at the last part, I believe at verse 10, Israel's going to be at rest and no one's going to make them afraid again. And that's what we need. We don't need to be around some damn Ku Klux Klan apologetics, okay, vocab, and okay, this wicked elite system that controls this world to keep lying to us. Verge of total destruction, and it's happening right in front of us, right? So what we have to do in these last days is keep the commandments, okay? That's all we can do, right? Let's read Ezekiel 11 and verse 17, and this is another gashing on your spiritual Israel. Okay, if you're new to the truth and you got certain Israelite groups teaching a spiritual doctrine like a GOCC, get away from them. Why? Because they're lying. There is no such thing. And I'm going to read this verse. It reads, and this is going into this Exodus. This Exodus is swiftly approaching, and family, remember, we're at the month of Bib right now. Come their so-called New Year's Eve, on December 31st, they're entering into 250. And only the Most High know how crazy this world is going to be at that time. I'm hoping our Exodus is before that, but it's a reach. Okay? Let me get this verse. I'm going to wind it down. Ezekiel 11. I'm gonna start at verse 16. Ezekiel 11:16, it reads, therefore say, thus said the Lord God, although I have cast them from far off among the heathen, and although I have scattered them among the countries, yet will I be to them as a little sanctuary into the countries where they shall come. That's a little summary right there of the Most High casting off the Israelites among the other people. Okay? You can read that in John the 7th chapter. That's John 7:34-35 on down. Okay? This is the point. Ezekiel 11 and 17. Therefore, thus said the Lord God, I will even gather you from the people, there it is again, and assemble you out of the countries where you have been scattered, and I will give you the land of Israel. Future prophecy. Nowhere in these verses it said he was going to gather everybody and bring them to the children of Israel. Okay? That Christianity dogma is over. Okay? That's witchcraft. It's a fable. It's a falsehood. Okay? You had the people set themselves up after post-Columbus claiming to be Christians, but they walk around with cone heads burning crosses. Then you had another group set up abroad, if you know what I'm saying. The Lord's coming to judge them. Okay? So we have to stay in these commandments while we coming into Passover, unleavened bread. We watching the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob judge this entire planet Earth. Okay, let me see if there's any more. I want to let's get a gathering real quick. I'm going to wind this video down. This is what Israelites in the truth, okay, should I say the elect of Israel in the truth, have to continue to bid. And this is what we are ordered to do from thus saith the Lord, or from the Most High, Slakia. Zephaniah 2:1, and it reads, gather yourselves together, yet gather together, O nation not desire, before the decree bring forth, before the day pass as a chaff, before the fierce anger of the Lord come upon you, before the day of the Lord's anger come upon you. Seek ye the Lord, all ye meek of the earth, which have wrought his judgment. Seek righteousness, seek meekness. It shall be hid in the day of the Lord's anger. Okay? And again, family, look at what's posted and look what's really going on right now. It's only going to get worse. America's going to damn near collapse completely. But again, the Lord's going to keep some type of sense of norm, so the prophecy in Slakia, 2 Peter 3:10 could be made manifest. Because America's going to be destroyed in its security. While they think they're good, they're going to burn away like the 5 cities of Sodom and Gomorrah did. Okay? Judgment's going to come like it did in Genesis 6, except it won't be a flood. It's going to be fire. Thermonuclear destruction. That's how the Lord's going to judge America. Let's get that in Revelation 18 chapter. Okay. Let's bring out the old warning. Revelation chapter 18 and verse 2. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, and it's become the habitations of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and the cage of every unclean and hateful bird. For all nations have drunk the wine and the wrath for fornications, talking about America, okay? And the kings of the earth have committed fornications with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies, okay, so-called business dealings and whatnot. This is the point. Revelation chapter 18 and verse 4. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people, that you be not partakers of her sins, and that you receive not of her plagues. Okay? And if you don't take your mind out this place, America's dangerous. You can easily lose focus on this truth and go back into that world that's about to get hit with nuclear missiles. Okay? You go into Genesis when Adam and Eve, chiefly Eve, but they both were guilty of transgression. They stopped keeping the laws and they were found naked. Not literally naked, but naked in the sense that they were in sin. That's what America does. It takes your mind. Okay? America swipes your mind whole with its witchcraft that it advertises 24/7. That's why it's urgent to keep these commandments. Don't listen to some damn Klanman apologetic teach you ain't got to keep the law. He's lying to you. Right? Because the judgment is coming to this place. I said this and I'm going to say this again. Right now with the tariff war, China could easily overthrow Taiwan. And contrary to popular belief, China can actually strike America's military. Okay, don't sleep on this. Right? Because this judgment day, our exodus, it has to happen. Okay? It's Bible prophecy. What now ancestors brought here on cargo slave ships? Okay, that was the punishment, but in the end, the Most High, okay, when you read the Joel 3 account, the Lord, you know, He's going to have mercy on Israel. He's going to free us. I'll tell you that. Okay? We got to keep that in mind, because as 250 approaches, the calamity is only going to get worse, right? Revelations 18:8. Therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine. She shall be utterly burned with fire. For strong is the Lord God who judged her. And that's what's coming to America. Thermonuclear destruction. It's going to body this place and the wicked. Let's get you out there. I'm on to that. Okay. This is also part of the final Exodus. For behold, in those days, this is Joel 3:1. For behold, in those days, in that time, when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem. Verse 2, and I will gather all nations, will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat, and will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage, Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land. Okay. Deuteronomy 28:68. Okay. The scattering was chiefly by cargo slave ships. That is the history of the so-called black man in America, Latin America, and other parts of the earth. Not the people in that land that will set up a post-Balfour Declaration. We're the 12 tribes of the children of Israel, and we got to prepare to go home to Zion. Okay? Joel 3 and verse 3. And they have cast lots for my people, and given a boy for an harlot, and sold a girl for wine that they may drink. That was going into when the Hamites were doing business with Edom, selling our people off and all that wickedness that they were doing. Okay, when the punishment was heavy on the 12 tribes of Israel. But in the end, the Most High, He's going to deliver us. He's going to clean Israel up. And the wicked's going to be judged, okay? They're going to be made, they're going to be captives to the 12 tribes of Israel. Let's get that. Let's get that in Revelation 13:10. And I'm on it here. Revelation chapter 13 and 10. Starting at verse 9. If any man have an ear, let him hear. He that leads into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killed with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here's the patience and the faith of the saints, okay? And the Israelites are also referred to as the saints, okay? But with that, I'm going to give all praise, honor, and glory to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Mashiach Yahushai. Double honors to the mighty men, the elders, and the apostles in the community, waking up the lost sheep of the house of Israel in these last days. Peace and blessings to everyone doing this truth and humbleness and sincerity. Israel, I love y'all. We got next. Shalom, family.